Thank you, Jake, and thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We really enjoy hosting these. Like Jake said, we're gonna go over a little bit about the position, and then we'll go ahead and have a Q&A. So a little bit about the position and the training process, and then really we'll do a question and answer session so that you can ask what your burning questions are about us being a 911 or fire 911 dispatcher. So what is a public safety radio dispatcher training or radio dispatcher or PSRD? That's the term that we use for a 911 dispatcher here at the San Jose Fire Department at San Jose Fire Communications. And I'm going to share a little bit about what happens when you call 911. So if you call 911 in the city of San Jose, you are going to reach what's called a primary PSAP, a public safety answering point. And that will be a law enforcement agency. So here in San Jose, that could be the California Highway Patrol, CHP, could be San Jose Police Department, or it could be Santa Clara County Sheriff or SO. And what they're going to do is they're going to determine or ask you if you have a medical fire emergency, or you could have a police emergency. If it's medical or fire, they'll make sure there's no scene safety or scene security things they need to address first. And then they'll go ahead and transfer it to us as a secondary PSAP here in San Jose. So you'll be talking to a fire or medical dispatcher here, a PSRD. And so we process medical and fire emergency calls for the city of San Jose and the community. And what that means is that we get the location, we get what's going on, and then we enter that information into a computer called CAD, a computer aided dispatch. And we send that information over to our partner, who's also a PSRD, public safety radio dispatcher, and they send the help out. So we find out where we need to go, what's going on, and we also find out if there are instructions needed while the help is on the way. And so we can provide instructions such as how to get out of a burning building, how to help with bleeding control, how to deliver a baby or CPR. We like to say we cover everything from hiccups to the Heimlich and everything in between. So it's a little bit about the call taking portion, but then there's another portion where we do talk on the radio. And this isn't a radio like the radio where you hear music, but you can actually listen to our dispatchers. If you ever there's an app called Pulse Point, and we can talk about it later, but on Pulse Point, you can hear San Jose fire dispatchers talking to San Jose firefighters. So we are on the radio talking to those fire engines and firefighters and trucks that you see out there who are mitigating the emergencies here in San Jose. And so a PSRD would then be telling the responders where they're going to go, what type of emergency they are going to, and the details about the call while they're on the way. This helps them to know where they're going, make tactical decisions like what appropriate attire to wear and maybe what they're going to do when they get there. And that's all done by a PSRD. And that's just a little small snippet of what we do. Call takers might be staying on the phone with you. Maybe if we are providing CPR, we're going to stay on the phone. And so we're going to be that essential time in between from the time you called 911 to the time that the help arrives to take over. And so that's what we do here. We're also considered essential workers and first responders here in the state of California. So we are here as essential workers 24/7, 365 days of the year serving our community. So in order to join our really amazing team, I am biased. I do think we have the best team in the world. In order to join us, we do have our minimum qualifications. So I do want to go over those with you. So you do need to have a successful completion of a high school or the equivalent of a high school diploma. You do need to be able to legally work in the United States. And then we're looking for 3 years of customer contact experience. So that is working with the general public. When you think of who's going to call 911, it's going to be our community members and our people out in the community. And so we want to know that you have experience working with them. And that can come in a variety of ways. All the 4 of us here tonight all have all different backgrounds and experience coming into this job. And so it could be restaurant, retail, it could be working maybe with like in a hospital setting. And if you don't have that 3 years customer contact, maybe you do have 1 year working in a radio dispatch setting or call center type setting, and that can count as well. And then lastly, we would like you to be able to work with technology. So there is a lot of typing in our job, and we do use a lot of screens. So ideally, you have the ability to type and work on the computer because we do that every single day. And those are just kind of the basic qualifications. I do want to invite Monica Alcantar-Kirk, who's our supervising public safety dispatcher of operations, to talk more about some of the ideal qualities that we would like.
Thank you, Kristen. First of all, thank you everybody for joining us on our Ask a Dispatcher Zoom. This is always a fun opportunity to share a little bit about our profession and give you a sneak peek into what it's all about and give you an opportunity to ask questions so we can answer everything that you're thinking about being a dispatcher, especially for San Jose Fire. So some ideal qualities. You see a bunch up on the screen in front of you there. If we had the magic mix of what makes a wonderful dispatcher, we would be fully staffed. All centers across the nation would be fully staffed. It's a hodgepodge, it's a mix of different things. And I think all of the things that you see in front of you are definitely qualities that you need to see in yourself and also be able to realize in your coworkers and work with other people. You are very closely working with your team every single day and having a passion for this job. It's not just a job, it's a career, it's a profession, and it's not an easy job. And being able to have some positivity, some self reflection, and take a step back, looking at the bigger picture, are all different assets that dispatchers need to survive in a career like this. And once you're hooked, and you realize this is something that you do want to do, and you dedicate yourself to constantly learning, constantly helping your team, helping the community, you will inherently start gaining all of these qualities or enhancing them to have you survive throughout your career as a San Jose Fire dispatcher, because it is fun and the people that you work with are amazing, and being able to support them and highlighting all of these wonderful qualities about you and your teammates that you're working with is a pretty amazing thing. So take a look at it, listen to all these questions and answers, and see if this is something for you or something you want to try out or find out more information and apply so we can get you on our team. Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you, Monica. So we shared a little bit about the position and what we're looking for, but here is what we will do for you. So here's a little bit about the salary. So there is training pay. So first of all, again, Marissa's going to talk a lot about the training program, but we do want to emphasize for you, it is paid training. So that first salary that you're seeing at the top, that's going to be your starting salary, or sorry, not starting, but the salary of a public safety radio dispatcher trainee. And that does include an ongoing 5% non-pensionable pay, as well as an non-pensionable 3.75% certification pay. And then once you go through our training program, which is pretty robust, you will get promoted into be a public safety radio dispatcher, and you can see the salary range there as well. We also offer shift differential, meaning that if you work some of the different shifts, because again, I mentioned we're here 365, 24/7. So if you work some of those alternative hours, you get some additional pay per hour on our shift differential. We do offer bilingual certification pay. All as you can see, all four of us are wearing a uniform, and so we do have an annual uniform allowance. We offer paid vacation and paid sick leave, and we do have through the city and our union a city paid parental leave. We do offer some tuition reimbursement, but health plans, and then the city, the San Jose retirement. But again, emphasizing on day one, you're a paid trainee. You get paid to go to school. And Marissa Gonzalez is the senior in charge of our training quality assurance, and she would be your academy instructor. So to talk a little bit more about our training program, I'm going to turn it over to her.
Hello again, thank you for attending our online Ask a Dispatcher. My name is Marisa Gonzalez. I am the training unit senior, and I work very closely with Kristen. So to start off, once you get hired as a public safety radio trainee, you enter a basic 8-week call-taking academy, which is in a classroom setting we teach you all of our policies and procedures that have to do with working at San Jose Fire and call taking. When you are in that call taking academy, you get certified in CPR. You also get certified in EMD and EFD, so emergency medical dispatch and emergency fire dispatch with the International Academy of Dispatching. When you are in the 8-week academy, you get tested weekly. We basically build upon the curriculum that we teach in order for you to have basic call taking skills when you go to on-the-job training. After your call taking academy, you will go into a 12 to 16 week on-the-job training for call taking specifically. Every 4 weeks, you will go to a new CTO, a communications training officer, and it's built in basically every 4 weeks is a different phase. So we're also building on your call taking skills. Once you are done with your 3rd phase, 3 different trainers every 4 weeks and possibly different shifts each time, you go into what's called an evaluation week, and by then you should be working solo. We do let you work solo for about a month or 2 after your call taking training, and then you go into a 4-week radio academy. I know that it says 8-week on the slide, but it is 4 weeks. So you'll be a little proficient in taking calls and kind of get to see how the control room works and listen to what's happening on the radio and get a little bit of a familiarity once every couple of weeks so that you do have some skills when you go into the radio academy, and definitely some familiarity with what happens on the radio and what the units ask for. So again, you go into what's called a 4-week radio academy. Each week we build upon the curriculum, and by the end of the 4 weeks, you do have the basic skills to be a radio dispatcher. In those 4 weeks, you get shown how to dispatch calls, how after the call gets created by a call taker, the radio dispatcher will send the appropriate units to the call based on its details. And then, excuse me, once that call is sent to the appropriate station and the appropriate units are attached, you will learn how to status keep, answer any questions, or help with any requests that they may have on the air. Everybody, I'm sure if you're from San Jose, you've seen our yearly wildland fires up in the East Hills. You will learn how to work those on the radio, how to document into our computer-aided dispatch system, learned all of our commands, how to talk to the units on the air so that we are communicating effectively and are helping the people who do call 911. In order to proceed from there, you do have to pass all your tests. You have to pass each phase. We have you sign some success criteria that says this is what you're going to do in order to become successful with our with the San Jose Fire Department. In your CTO training, you are also given daily feedback from your communications training officer. You are also getting weekly feedback from your senior, dependent on what shift you are on. You also get check-ins from us in the training unit to ensure that you still are progressing throughout basically the year that you're in training. Once all of that training is done and you can call take on your own and you are a radio dispatcher on your own, you are then in probation for 1 year. You do still get that feedback. Every couple of months, you get a bi-monthly feedback that is written by the senior that you are under, independent on which shift you are on. You still communicate a little bit with the training unit if there's something that you need while you are already signed off. We can assist with that. And after that 1 year, you are solo and it feels great.
Thank you, Marissa. So long training process. And again, sorry about that. It is a 4-week radio academy, not 8-week radio academy. So I know this is a pretty quick overview, very, very brief of the job and a little bit and brief of the training program. And that's because we do want to hear your questions, whether you're a potential candidate out there looking to find out more about the position and or considering the position, or whether you're a community member who just wants to know what your 911 dispatchers do in the San Jose Fire Department. We are excited to hear your questions. So I'm going to turn it back over to Jake for a moment, and I will stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Kristen. And thank you all very much for that presentation. So we're going to now move over to the Q&A portion. If anyone has a question, you can submit it in text through the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We obviously encourage you to do that because we would love to get your questions and be able to provide you the best answers to those. So go ahead and do that now. And while the questions populate, I will start with the first question. And this one can be answered by all four of you. What is your favorite part about being a 911 dispatcher?
And I'll go first on that one. So this is going to be that answer that probably everybody expects, but it really truly is being able to serve my community. So I grew up here in the city of San Jose and in the community. And so I find it's truly a privilege to process calls and be able to talk to people through their emergencies and know that I am giving back to the community that raised me. And then bonus, I do also love that in my current role, I get to be help new dispatchers grow and watch their journey, which is incredibly rewarding. I feel very lucky every day that both in the control room and in my current role, I don't have to question whether I've helped someone every day. And that's pretty special and lucky to have. I'm gonna give it to Monica.
All right. It's a pretty amazing job. It's not your everyday and it's different every day. So for me, when working in the control room, it's not like a normal job where you're always doing the same thing. You never know what call you're going to get and what challenge you're going to be able to handle, what opportunity is going to come up. And that's pretty awesome. Sometimes you're call taking, you're assigned as a call taker for the day, or sometimes you're a radio dispatcher, or you're the reliefs position and get to do a little bit of everything that day. So I think that's pretty different than most jobs. You're not doing the same thing all the time. And what you are doing is impactful and it does help your community and you can feel good about it at the end of the day. But I also really love everyone that we work with. They're smart, they're funny, and they're there to help you and support you. And it's amazing when you have an awesome work group. Go ahead, Stephanie. Don't forget to unmute.
I think exactly like what you said, like every day is different, every call is different. And so it's just, you come into work every day, you never know what you're going to get. And it's just kind of the thrill of not knowing, but also knowing that you're helping your community, like Kristen said, giving back to the community, knowing that you're helping people in need, helping people on their worst day. Yes, it can be stressful, but it's more rewarding than it is stressful in the long run. And knowing that you helped save someone's life, or that maybe helped bring a life into the world, or whatever it is that you helped do that day, or maybe multiple things that you helped do that day. It's just super rewarding. And then it's just not your everyday job. You come to work and you're doing something different, and every call is different. So that's, I enjoy that. And not everybody likes shift work, but most of us do. And although the hours can be long and grueling, we do get time off to spend with our family and our vacation times and things like that. And so it pays off in different ways. So those are also reasons why I like being a dispatcher, because I get, other benefits with that as far as time off and time to be with my family.
and I'll go next. I think my favorite part about being a dispatcher is um, I was also born and raised here in East San Jose, and knowing that I can come out and be a product of my community and be able to help them. Having a little bit of college education, not graduating, being able to do a job like this and serving my community really, really well. Also knowing that I work with people who also still serve this community and are amazing dispatchers. One of the best things that I love about working here is we are one big family. We spend the majority of our time here at work, and we spend it with the same people every single day, and we see them more than we do our family members at home. And knowing that we all support each other in this job and we really work like a family together is one of the more positive aspects about working in this type of job, because we all do have support for each other.
All right. Thank you guys for those great answers. We are going to now take some questions from the audience. And I do want to say thank you to everyone because we got a lot of questions that came in very quickly. So thank you for the enthusiasm. This first question is going to go to Marissa. It's a three-part question from Sarah. What are the hours/days for Academy and for being on the floor after Academy? And is there a uniform for Academy training?
Okay, so typically the hours and days of the academy, when you are in your first 8-week academy in call taking training, they are typically regular business hours, 8 to 5. They can vary between 7 and 4 or 9 and 6. It's very dependent on what's happening in our communication center. But it's Monday through Friday, regular business hours, and that is also for the 4-week radio academy. When you get into CTO training with your communications training officer, your hours will vary. We will choose which hours you go to, very dependent on who your CTO is and what availability we have. Here at San Jose Fire Dispatch, we have 3 shifts. Our first shift is day shift, which is 0630 to 1430 hours, or 0630 to 2:30 p.m. And then 14:30 to 22:30, which is 2:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. and 22:30 to 06:30. So that would be our night shift, 10:30 p.m. to 06:30 p.m. We really try our best to ensure that each trainee can experience each shift, which will be determined by us in the training unit. Again, very dependent on availability. We look at other factors. Our dispatchers, just because they're in CTO doesn't mean that they can't take vacations. There are other factors that we look at, but we definitely try to ensure that each portion of your CTO training in call taking and radio, you do have a chance to work each of those shifts. Each shift is its own person. It has its own personality, and we want you to be able to experience that before you are by yourself.
Thank you very much. This next question is going to go to Kristen. The question comes from Brianna. If you passed critical with San Jose Police Dispatch, do you need to retake it?
Hey, Brianna, thank you. Yes, you do. So we do have our own, we do use Critical as a part of our hiring process, and we have our own modules and criteria. But that just means, well, you've already practiced it, right? You've taken it, so you know what to expect. But we do use our own scores. So we don't take scores from other agencies, or if you've chosen to take it on your own.
Thank you, Kristen. Let's get a question over to Monica. If I have a service dog, will I be allowed to keep her with me or not because it's considered a first responder position?
So If there are any type of accommodations that we need to make, we would discuss with HR on what we would be able to do. We do have therapy dogs that come into the center. I think you saw a picture on that PowerPoint there. If you did need a service dog, I believe we would be able to make that accommodation, but we would need to check and work that out through HR. Depending on what that is, it wouldn't necessarily be because it's a first responder position why it would or wouldn't be allowed. But we do make sure to go through any accommodations that we can for any of our applicants and also for our employees. So I wouldn't let that hinder me in the process. And we could make sure to go ahead and look into that so we could work something out.
Thank you, Monica. Let's get Stephanie a question here. How do you handle multiple tasks or work under pressure during incidents and after incidents?
So dealing with the pressure and dealing with multiple tasks during incidents, that's something that is heavily dealt with like during your training and throughout your training experience and just years of experience, you kind of build on that. So as you do more and more tasks and you become more familiar with the tasks that you're doing, they kind of become second nature. So you're able to do more things at once without having to think so hard about it. They kind of become second nature. So it's kind of second nature to multitask in a sense. Because you're so familiar with the process of everything that has to get done. You know that you have to maybe update the ambulance at the same time that you're updating the fire crew. You know that you have to cancel cancel the ambulance because the fire crew has returned to service. There are certain things that go hand in hand that again throughout your training process, you're going to get all of this, and it's going to take a lot of repetition. It's going to take a lot of practice. It's going to take lots of time of you practicing and working on this throughout your training. And then even after your training, to become more and more efficient, to become faster at it, and to become, um, you know, for it to be less stressful, more proficient, and to be able to prioritize quicker and easier. And as the more time you get in the job, the easier it becomes. I hope that answered the question.
Thank you, Stephanie. Let's go to Marissa. What percentage of new hires that officially become dispatchers pass the tests in the academy?
Throughout dispatch centers in the US, it's typically between 30 and 50% of people who start the academy that finish. And that's across the US. Kristen, I, and Monica have attended multiple conferences that have actually done studies on this, and this seems to be the most common answer is 30 to 50%. It honestly, the career just really isn't for everyone, and going back into a classroom environment and having to learn like going to college all over again for some people, it's not the easiest, especially with work-life balance. And then also getting into the control room and really understanding that we have real life emergencies. It's not everything that you see on TV. And these may also, if you are born and raised in San Jose, these may also be people that you know. And every call affects somebody differently. And the kinds of calls that we hear daily, and not always daily, but kind of seasonally, can sometimes affect people. And then they realize that this is just not for them. There isn't typically like one factor that has led to that low percentage rate. We've gotten things like work-life balance because it is a really demanding job, not being able to keep up with the curriculum, just not understanding the job in whole. And some people just say this isn't for them. Even people that we we ourselves have thought that could have gone pretty far in this career. It's just not for them. So it's not one single factor that would contribute into that low success rate.
Just want to add one more thing on it. Just Marissa, you explained it really well. What I do want to say is that being a part of the training program, and I will speak about Marissa to this, we will do everything we can to try to support you in being successful. So she's right. If you are interested in this job, there is a lot of self-reflection. And I think Monica mentioned it earlier too. You do need to decide if this is for you. And it is a career. It's not just a job. And there's a lot of things to think about. But if you are hired on with us, we do want to do everything we can to help you be successful. And I know Stephanie as a CTO and Monica as the operations supervisor and Marissa as the academy instructor we do everything we can. And so advocating for yourself if you're in the training program, asking for what you need, if you're struggling with something, is something that you need to be able to do. And so while it can sound alarming to hear that 30 to 50%, I can assure you we are here to try to help you be as successful as possible. And our goal is always to have 100% success.
Thank you both. Kristen, let's keep it with you. It's a two-part question. How many people will be accepted into the program, and what are the typical hours expected during the training process?
Okay, so right now we currently have 4 vacancies. And so we would be looking right now for at least an academy of 4. But if you look at the timeline, so if you go to where the job is posted, which you can also get to at sjfd911.org, and if you get to where the job is posted, you'll see the timeline, and it is a hiring process. So we're not looking to hire someone tomorrow. That'd be nice and amazing and magical, like Monica described for the magical dispatcher qualities. But it is a process. And so we're looking for an academy that is going to start at the end of September. And so much could change between now and then. So while we currently have 4 vacancies, I know we have some potential promotions. There could be people, like Marissa said, who decide it's not for them. We do have some trainees now. We have people who maybe are going to retire. So there could be a larger number, but typically our academies are going to be anywhere. We've had as small as 1, but usually about 2 to 5 or 6 is a normal academy size for us. And then for the hours, I know Marissa mentioned it a little bit, when you're in the academy portion, so either the 8-week call taking academy or the 4-week radio academy, it's usually going to be kind of those business hours like 8 to 4 or not 7 to 3 with Monday through Friday. And then when you do go into the on the job portion, the communications training officer portion, your hours will vary. So you will work the same hours as your trainer, meaning you could start on day shift working at 6:30 and you do that for 4 weeks. And then you move to midnight shift where you get off at 6:30 in the morning and start at 10:30 at night. And then for your last rotation, you might be on swing shift, which starts at 2:30 p.m. and ends at 10:30 p.m. So that's what's going on right now. So your hours will vary, and so will your days off. When you are with your CTO, your trainer, you will have their days off. So I know when I started, I had Tuesday, Wednesday off for 4 weeks, and then I got lucky and had someone who had Saturday, Sunday off. And so you are going to rotate quite a bit, especially during that first year. And that's something you need to consider. Is that going to work for you in your life and for the people in your life, and make sure that they understand that. Thanks, Jake.
Thank you, Kristen. Okay, this question is going to go to either Stephanie or Monica, or maybe both of you can chime in. Would you recommend listening to Pulse Point as a way to get a good feel for how the job works?
You can go first, Stephanie.
I think that listening to Pulse Point could be helpful, but I think for somebody who's never maybe done dispatching before, or maybe is new to the career, they may not fully understand everything that they're hearing. Dispatching is in a sense kind of a language of its own. And that's why I say, like, you may not fully understand what's being said. There's a lot of acronyms being used, a lot of terminology that's not going to be understood. But I don't want that to deter you from listening to it, because there could be some benefit like from listening to it, and you might still gain something out of listening to it as well. and just getting a little bit familiarized with some of the terminology and getting familiar with some of the process. I think that that would be helpful for sure. But I don't think that you're going to understand everything that you hear, if that makes sense.
Yes, I echo what Stephanie says. I would try and download the app if you haven't, Pulse Point, Pulsepoint. And it's something, if you are listening to it, like Stephanie said, it's like its own language. If you're familiar with a language, you can understand it a little bit better. If you're not familiar with the language, you don't really understand it. But if you try it out and you listen and you find that it's something that intrigues you, it is only a small part of what dispatchers do. It's the radio dispatching element of it. And there's also the whole call taking aspect of being a dispatcher as well. And for San Jose Fire, and that's the forum that we're in tonight for San Jose Fire Department Public Safety Radio Dispatcher. I think there's a question in there about that. We're all fire here. And it's dealing with fire and EMS calls. PD has a separate dispatch classification, and they will go ahead and dispatch PD and take police calls. So if you are interested in this fire aspect of it, and you do listen to Pulse Point, I think that's a good kind of meter for you to continue and try into this profession. And then later on, when you start learning radio, that's when you're going to kind of dive into Pulse Point a little bit more and start getting more familiar. So maybe not so much in the beginning, but as you progress in your training, Pulse Point would be something so that you start getting what we call a radio ear and understanding the jargon and the lingo that's utilized on our fire channels.
Thank you both. Kristen, what is the background check like?
The good question. I don't have all of the answers for you. From what I remember going through it a while ago, it was pretty intense. It is a very thorough background process. From what I remember, it lasted maybe about 6 to 8 weeks off the top of my head. So I remember having to gather a lot of information about my relationships, past, present, friendships, neighbors, previous jobs. So I had to gather a lot of information, and then there was a lot of questions, and I met with someone. And so my biggest piece of advice is, if you do make it to that part of the process, because it's a little bit further down in the process, make sure you do start that early and gather all the documents and anything that they're asking for. Get it early so that you're not going right up into the deadline. We don't want you to miss the deadline if that's something you're interested in. But you do need to have integrity in this job, and so there is a lot of things that you're exposed to, and we want to make sure that our team is full of the best people with good making good choices. It doesn't mean you have to have a perfect background. We all know that nobody was perfect, but my biggest thing is be honest and start early gathering those things. And if you have questions, you're welcome to ask them again here, but then we also will have an in-person as well. So hopefully that answered it. It was a while ago.
Thank you, Kristen. This one, we're going to go ahead and open it up to any of you that would like to answer it. Did you always know you wanted to be a dispatcher? If so, what initially inspired you? And if you found this career a little bit later, what changed your mind? What got you into it?
I'll go first. Yes. I didn't know I always wanted to be a dispatcher. I found it on accident, actually on Craigslist, and rumor has it Monica's the reason it was there. So thank you for that. I love this job. I saw the minimum requirements and the pay, which was, I think, at like half or less than it is now. And I was like, I think I could do that. I worked in restaurant and retail before then. And so I didn't know. My mom worked in crisis work. And so I think that kind of lent me to want to be drawn towards helping people. But the more I found out about the fire department, the more I found out about the job, I was intrigued with every step of the way. And by the time that I was almost done with that hiring process, I was so eager to have it. And I feel so grateful every single day that I did make it here. But it's an interesting path in how we all get to this position.
I did not want to do this. I had already been laid off for about a year, and I had gotten laid off at what I thought was my dream job at Lawrence Livermore, where I worked was in a fire communication center for Alameda County. And I mean, I saw firsthand, like from the outside, not listening calls, to how their communication center worked. And I said, I will never do that. But again, I was laid off for a while, and my aunt had been telling me about this job for a while, and I was finally like, I guess I got to get a grown-up job. I have a car payment and insurance to pay for. And my savings was running out after being laid off for about a year. And so I applied. I went through the whole process, background check, everything. And finally, I was in the academy. Like, I honestly, it was kind of unbelievable. Um, I was in the academy and started learning the curriculum, realized that this was something that I could do. Went into CTO training, and there was plenty of times where I was like, I'm not coming back. 16 years later, I'm still here, and I love what I do. And I can't really see myself doing anything else because there's just different opportunities to do, not just in dispatch, but also like right now we're in the training unit. We've done a couple of different programs, gone to conferences, things like that. And just knowing that I am serving my community and I made a really good decision is probably one of the other reasons that I love this. Also, we get quite a bit of vacation time if you work things out correctly. So it's a great job. I love it.
I would say for me, I didn't know that I wanted to do this job. It kind of came to me through a childcare provider. I was a struggling single mom at the time, and her young daughter, adult daughter, did this at a different agency, and they were hiring. And she said, "I think you would be really good at it, and I think it would be good for you and your kids." And so I applied to do it, and I did it. And I've been doing it for almost 20 years. I've been 10 years with San Jose Fire, and it's honestly been a super rewarding career. It's been something that I've been able to take care of my family with, and I'm very proud about. And so, for anybody out there that wants something like that, this is a good opportunity for that.
I think the dispatch profession is very unseen in the public safety circle. It has changed over the years. There's TV shows about 911, and that has changed a little bit. When people think about an emergency, they're not necessarily remembering the dispatcher, the person they spoke to help get them the help, ask them the questions, give them the CPR instructions. And it's not ingrained in people's mind. They see the flashing lights of a fire engine or a police officer, and that's what they see when they think of public safety. So I think a lot of people don't grow up saying, I want to be a dispatcher. And a lot of us kind of have fallen in or come across this career path. And I started almost 17 years ago now. And I started off as a wedding coordinator. And funny story, because my husband was looking for a job for himself, and he saw this job posted, and he thought it was something that I would like and that I could do. And it had good benefits and good vacation, and kind of aligned with our life. And I applied, and now I'm here 17 years later. So it was by accident that I ended up finding this job. And it's a pretty amazing job. So speaking to what Stephanie said, to help support your family, for the minimum qualifications, the 18 years of age and the customer service, and we give you all of your training. We give you all of the certifications. It's all paid on the job training to be able to have a career in this area that pays that well right from the get-go. And then when you're done with training, you get a promotion, and then you'll continue to get your step raises and any additional cost of living raises that get negotiated with the union. It's a pretty amazing opportunity. And if it's something that you are even remotely thinking about or think that you can do, challenge yourself and try it. See if you like it. Because I don't think people think about doing it initially, but then once you get into it, you might love it and it'll be your thing. And it's an amazing career.
Thank you all. We're going to stick with Monica and Stephanie for this next one. It's kind of along the same lines. What advice would you give your younger self when you first started the hiring process?
What advice would I give my younger self? I would take it more seriously. I think I did it pretty nonchalantly and I just applied and I was like, okay, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. But learn about dispatch, Google it, watch YouTube videos, actually see if you can do a sit along somewhere. It is also part of our process later on if you do make it that far. But talk to other centers, talk to dispatchers, learn about how to be a participant in an oral board if you've never done that type of interview before. Show up. So by that, I mean, make sure you're dressed appropriately. Make sure you're prepared with answering questions in an interview. You get sleep before you take the critical test. You set yourself up for success. So I think if you're able to do that, that's what will help you progress in our process. And I think I would have done better if I had done that. Because to be honest, when I first applied, I didn't make it in the first round. And then they called me back a couple months later and said that they went further down the list. And then I was invited to the academy. And now I'm still here 17 years later. But I think maybe had I taken it more seriously and prepared myself and just done my research a little bit more, I probably would have been, hired the first time. But don't give up on it, right? If it is something that you really want to do, keep trying for it and apply again. But I think just in general, take it more seriously and be prepared and show up for all the things.
Absolutely. I would agree with, show up prepared and research everything you can about dispatching, the area, the geography, be prepared to answer questions that you may not be familiar with. Even if you're not from San Jose, if you're from Alameda, or if you're from, San Francisco, or if you're from a different area and you just have recently come to San Jose, do whatever you can to study the area, to get familiar with what is in San Jose, or whatever area you're looking to dispatch in. Try to learn some, basic medical terminology if you can, because it's kind of important as far as for us. We do a lot of our medical dispatching, and knowing some of the basic medical terminology is super helpful when we're dealing with our callers. Also, it helps when it comes to dealing with the stress, because you're able to analyze or understand what your callers are saying and not be so confused. Um, look at the big picture, look at the long road, look at what you're trying to achieve for your full future, not just the now, but the future. Because Monica said, if she had taken it seriously, and same for me, like I didn't make it my first round either. It took a second round for me as well. And had I been a little more prepared the first round, I probably would have gotten hired the first round too. But it's all hindsight. We we know now. But just research and study everything you can. And there's so many more things available online that you have access to. use your resources. That's whatever resources out there, use it. Do sit-alongs like Monica said, because sit-alongs are super helpful. Or even if you can maybe do a ride-along with a city somewhere and see what you can get with a ride-along somewhere, that might even be helpful as well.
Thank you very much. It's actually a great segue to the next question for Marissa. Is there a good book or guide you would recommend reading to learn the acronyms and terminology?
I don't know of any good books, but luckily, when you are in training, we provide you with all of those materials, including acronyms, terminology, commands that you'll be using in our computer-aided dispatch system. We do go through a lot of the vocabulary that is used on the fire side. We have a couple of specific classes that will actually go over, and we give you printouts of those. All the PowerPoints that we go through so that you are prepared for your weekly tests. We do a lot of reviewing. You could take all of this information home with you to study. In fact, we really, really encourage it in order for preparedness. We also give you some stuff prior to starting so that you can have a little leg up before you do get here and have your first quiz in your first week. So you're not bombarded with all of that. But everything, we provide you with all of the materials that you need for training. Once you are in CTO, you're still going over different skills and material in that CTO call taking, I'm sorry, communications training, officer training also, and also during radio. Before you start, Monica did mention some YouTube. There are podcasts that you could look up. Google is a really good resource. There are so many different TikToks and YouTube channels and podcasts that now talk about dispatching, the fire service, what to expect to prepare to come into this kind of academy. One really good one is called the Raspy Dispatcher. She's pretty popular. I highly suggest looking into that, and she gives you everything very truthfully about what to expect when you do that. But as far as materials, we provide all of that for you. Lots of PowerPoints, but we also put that on a OneDrive if you're more green.
Thank you, Marissa. Kristen, where and when is the in-person Q&A?
Good question. So the logistics of the location are being worked out. We should have that out this week, and Jake will help get that out once we get it. But we are looking at Saturday, April 5th, and we will either be doing it at one of our fire stations or our fire training campus, and those logistics should come out soon. So keep an eye out, look at our social media. Hopefully we can get something out on our website as well. But we would love to see anyone who's here online tonight is more than welcome to talk to us in person as well. I know for sure, I think Marissa and I will definitely be there, if not some more of our dispatchers with all sorts of different levels of experience. So we do enjoy getting to talk to everybody there in person. So again, Saturday, April 5th, probably mid-morning, early afternoon, but we will get logistics out as soon as possible. Thank you for your patience with it.
Thank you. This one is for either Stephanie or Monica, whichever one would like to take it. What are the 2 or 3 most common types of calls? And as a fire dispatcher, are you also taking calls for police?
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Like earlier, Marissa had mentioned that each shift has its own personality, or is its own person. So when you ask what are the types of calls, the 2 to 3 types of calls most commonly received, it really kind of comes down to different shifts. Each shift kind of receives, in a sense, their types of regular calls. Like for day shift, we get a lot of maybe more like alarm type calls, maybe routine medical calls of like somebody who's experienced maybe children who have fallen at school or had a seizure at school, or maybe somebody at home that's having just difficulty breathing, or chest pain. When it comes to swing shift, you may be experiencing more of like vehicle accidents because it's more during commute time, but also still dealing with some more of those medical type complaints. And then going into like midnight shift or night shift, you might get more of like, maybe overdose calls or mental health calls, which you still get, those still trickle in during the day and swing shift too. It's not that they don't, it's just they're not as maybe as common, maybe more common on the night shift. Every shift kind of tends to have their more common type like calls. Um, Maybe on midnights you get a lot of elderly falls because elderly will try to get up to get themselves to the bathroom and they are weak or can't make it. And then they end up on the floor. And then, of course, all throughout the shifts, we get, fire calls, smoke investigations, a lot of homeless people lighting fires or cooking fires, warming fires when it's cold out. Um, those kind of tend to come in either early in the morning or late at night or during the night.
Thank you, Stephanie. Let's go to Monica for this one. I'm interested in doing a sit-along. Would you be able to expand a little more on how to reach out about doing one?
So right now, we have our process open to accept applications. And when we have our process open to accept applications, a sit along is part of the process if you progress far enough. So we will reach out to you, our HR will reach out to you to go ahead and set that up if you make it to that part of the hiring process. Now, since we have them open and it is part of our process, we can't have candidates just coming in and doing sit-alongs because we can't give preference to certain people and have them visit multiple times and other people not visit multiple times. So when our process is open like this, we don't have free sit-alongs coming in, but that doesn't stop you from sitting along at other comm centers. And you could call maybe their business or administration lines. Don't call their 911 line to schedule a sit along. And they could work with you to go ahead and see, so you can see a comm center environment if you've never seen it before. And when you come to your sit along, again, like I mentioned before, show up, be prepared. Don't just sit there passively and watch, right? Ask questions, be engaged, make sure the volume is good and you can hear everything. Show up professionally, professional attire. Don't show up in your sweats and a sweatshirt type of thing. Be serious about it and bring a notepad, take notes. And you can ask questions or you can write down what you learned. So then maybe you could bring that into an interview that you have with us or utilize that in some type of oral board panel that you join us at later on in the process. So right now, we don't accept sit-alongs unless it's part of the process, and we'll schedule that with you. When our applications do close, though, if that's something that you are still interested in, you can reach out to us. And there should be an email to reach out for our training and recruitment on our website at sjfd911.org. You can email that email after our process has closed, and then we could get you set up with a sit-along.
Thank you, Monica. We will go to Marissa. What are the steps involved in taking a call once a call is placed for a dispatcher?
So from start to kind of finish, if you call 911 within city limits of San Jose, again, that's just the city limits. If you dial 911 within city limits, you get the San Jose Police Department. They will answer the line and ask whether or not you need fire, medical, or police. And if they determine that it's fire or medical, you will then be transferred to us at San Jose Fire. We will take your call, get your location, your phone number. Those are the two most important things that we ask when we are taking a 911 call, because if we don't know where you're at, we won't know where to send the help. There are other ways that we can find it, but in general, we need your location. We will then process the call dependent on what your details are, if it's a fire or medical detail. We will create a call, which then gets entered into our CAD system. The radio dispatcher will then dispatch the call to the appropriate station in the appropriate area of San Jose, with the appropriate amount of units dependent on what type of call it is. It could be something from a medical event that would only require one apparatus to a structure fire, which would require multiple apparatuses. After that, very dependent on what kind of call it is, we will make sure that we are keeping track of unit status when they get dispatched, when they go en route, when they arrive on scene, and then take any other updates from them once they are there, and then we can close the call. Calls typically take anywhere between 5 to an hour, depending on the situation. After that call is done, we take multiple calls at one time, sometimes on the radio side, and sometimes we find out what happens if it's a serious call, and sometimes we don't. And that's kind of the process of how a call works in the dispatch environment.
Thank you, Marissa. We are over the initially allotted 60 minutes, but we will reward everyone for the wonderful questions by taking a few more. So we'll go over to Monica. What are common mistakes a beginner dispatcher may make?
Common mistakes. So first of all, when you are in an academy setting and you're learning, you're going to make mistakes, and we understand that you're going to make mistakes, and we'll help give you corrections and feedback. And that's in a training environment. Some mistakes could be you forget to what we call accept your call. So that's where we plug it into our computer and create the call so everyone can see it and it can be dispatched on. If you forget to create the call, that is sometimes a common mistake. And then if you go into the control room after that academy setting, you're with a CTO, you're with a communications training officer, and you're then taking live calls. So they are not going to let you fail on a live 911 call. They will be there to support you. They could take over a 911 call if needed. They will tell you exactly what you need to say, and then you parrot it to that person on the phone. And what the mistake would be then is maybe how you handled it, or what protocol you went to, or something that you forgot to do or say. And how that mistake is handled is the CTO will either tell you right in that moment, or after the call is over, they'll be able to give you that feedback. And then at the end of the night, you'll be able to talk about it. So common mistakes could be just as simple as forgetting something, going to an incorrect protocol, saying something that we're not supposed to say, not saying something word for an instruction, or asking a question, forgetting protocol or policy. Sounds like a lot because there is a lot to forget. There's a lot to remember too. But it is understandable, and we have a pretty intense training program to help you through that process so that you understand and so that you do get the feedback on what you can improve on and what you should be doing better. Mistakes happen. Call yourself out. Do you forget to do something? Recognize it, right? Oh my gosh, I went to the wrong protocol on that. It's still a code 3 response, which means lights and sirens. Someone's going with their emergency lights on, and I'm making sure to correct my mistake. If I realize it, then I make sure to fix it. So just make sure a lot of self-reflection in any mistakes that you make, because mistakes are inevitable, but you learn and you move on and you do it right the next time.
Thank you, Monica. Let's see here. We're going to go to Kristen. After the application window closes, how long does it typically take to hear whether we are moving forward or not?
All right. I'm going to answer that one, and then there's a couple others that are also about the process, Jake. So if you don't mind, I'm going to just kind of combine it all together. So after the application process closes, we are screening applications throughout the process. So you should find out relatively quickly. And by quickly, I mean within like a week or two. I don't have the exact time frame, but you should find out if you've made it to that next step. And I do see a question on here for how long is the process? So the hiring process is about 6 weeks from the time, or sorry, correction, 6 months. I wish it was 6 weeks. 6 months from the time that we open the position till around the time of hire. And so we've done, in the job posting, we have listed each step that is in there. And it is, I think, also on our website. And so there's multiple steps and you have to pass each step to make it to the academy. And so what I would say is familiarize yourself with it now, ask questions about anything that maybe doesn't look familiar to you or is new. I know some people have mentioned Critic Call or Oral Board, but do know that it's a process. It's not like jobs maybe that I've applied for in the past where I've applied, had one interview, and then was hired within a week or two. This is going to be a long-term process because we do really want to make sure we're getting the right people into the right spots for our team. So if you don't hear back, you can always reach out. I know there's an HR contact as well on that job posting, so you could always ask her as well.
Thank you, Kristen. We're going to go to Stephanie next. How do bathroom breaks get mixed in when call taking?
So, I mean, as far as bathroom breaks go, I mean, if we need to go take a bathroom break, we need to take a bathroom break. And you can always go not ready and run down the hall and take your bathroom break. That's never usually an issue. We call it DTH, down the hall. And that's just kind of like the terminology that we use for it. But we get scheduled breaks. We get our scheduled breaks. So on an 8-hour shift, we get two 15-minute breaks and a 30-minute lunch. And so usually if you can manage to take your bathroom breaks during that time, that's awesome. And if it doesn't work out because you're a massive water drinker or coffee drinker or whatever it is, I mean, if you need to run down the hall and take a bathroom break, then that's what you need to do. And it's usually not a problem. If you're training and you just look at your CTO and say, can I run down the hall real quick or can I take a bathroom break? And it's usually not a problem at all. So that's how it works.
Thank you, Stephanie. Let's see, we'll take a couple more. Monica, what if the call involves both PD and medical?
All right. Marissa kind of touched on this a little bit. So when someone calls 911 in the city of San Jose, they're going to reach a law agency first. So potentially San Jose PD or CHP. And if there is any type of law element, scene safety element, they're going to handle that portion of it first. And if there's a combination of medical that's needed as well or fire needed as well, after they've handled and got the information that they need, they'll transfer it over to us and we will handle the medical and fire portion. Now, that doesn't always mean the system works perfectly like that. Someone could call our 10-digit emergency line, or someone could transfer a call incorrectly to the fire department rather than the police department, and you will need to handle potentially a police call. And there is training, basic training, that you would get for the minimum amount of information you would need to generate a police call. We do share a computer system, a CAD, computer aided dispatch system, with San Jose PD. So if we create a call, we could create a combined event that would dispatch the police department and would also have the fire department and an ambulance respond to the call as well. So you'd go through training with it. And there are scene security implications when you're taking a call. It could start off as a medical call and then turn into something that is a dangerous situation for the person that you're talking to. And you need to give them specific instructions and safety instructions. And there is training and protocols that we have where you could follow that protocol and also link in our San Jose police team members that are at the same building next door to us. And they would also be able to take part in that call as well. So not all the time, but mostly we specifically deal with fire and medical, but there are always scene safety elements that we're listening for on purpose or will come our way onto our plate and we will need to manage and handle it. You do have the training to get the minimum information so that person can get help.
Thank you, Monica. All right, we're going to close it out with one final question here. I'm going to push this to all four of you. So one final thought, if somebody was on the fence about whether or not that they should apply, what would be your parting words to them?
Go first. Do it. If you're on the fence, apply. As you start going through the process and you've realized if it's not for you, you can always change your mind. But if you don't apply, you're already guaranteeing yourself a no. So give yourself the opportunity. But like all four of us have said, do the research along the way. I will echo what Monica and Stephanie said of wishing we had taken it more seriously. I too am a second academy hire. And so take it seriously. We want to see that you've done the research. We want to see you're invested. We want to know why you're choosing the San Jose Fire Department instead of other departments. So really look into it. And Stephanie said it, there are so many resources out there now available to you to find out about the job that definitely were not there, at least when I went through it. And these lovely women have all been dispatching longer than I have. So I know it wasn't there for them too. And so do the research. But if you're at all interested, apply. And if you want to find out more, you can come talk to us in person as well.
I would say apply, because you'll never regret applying and withdrawing if you decide to. But if you didn't apply and then you think back and think, I should have applied, you might regret that. So, apply and put in the work and study what you can, and try hard. And if this is what you want to do, and you enjoy it, then you'll know that. You'll know if you enjoy it, you'll know if it's for you, and you'll know if it's not. But you won't know if you don't try. So you got to at least apply to try. So I would recommend trying and applying.
I say get off the fence, just apply. But also don't be discouraged if you think that you don't have the qualifications. Each one of us here did something different before we started here. Customer service is really good to have. I think people read too into what we do and think that you have to have some kind of call center experience, and you don't. Um, you could work at McDonald's and you are doing customer service every day and multitasking every day. And those are the kinds of qualities that we need. Something with customer contact. So don't sell yourself short. Don't be nervous. Apply. I like to tell trainees, what's the worst that we can tell you? No. But if that's the case, then do it again, because this is a process, right? Even if you don't pass it, even if you don't make it past the first application process, you could ask HR, hey, like, is there maybe you missed something, maybe you didn't read the question correctly, because it is really detailed. And do it again. That way you'll notice if you did miss something the next time. Each step is a learning experience. So don't get discouraged if you don't make it the first time filling out the application. Continue. Each time you're going to learn something more, and that's just going to make you more knowledgeable for the next time you fill out the application if that doesn't work. And if you get through the first time, then we'll see you in September.
All right, I'm going to sound like a broken record a little bit here. You're not going to be able to do it unless you apply. So the initial step would be just to do that initial application, and then you can do more thinking about it afterwards. But make sure that you're setting yourself up for a success. Don't self-sabotage yourself and be like, oh, I tried it and I didn't make it, right? But maybe you didn't make it because you didn't apply yourself. You didn't do the things to set yourself up for success, because it's very transparent that our hours are 24/7, 7 days a week that our comm center is open, right? And we do work shift work. So think about it. If you have kiddos at home, what kind of childcare would that be like? If you have other family needs, a dog that you need to make sure to take care of. If you are squeamish about hearing certain things, or just listen to 911 calls. Can you handle someone screaming on the phone during the worst time of their life, or manage that chaos and be the calm person that someone's looking for direction? um think about those things, reflect on that. And so if I were on the fence about this job, those are the types of things that you would look up and you could find out about and see, yeah, I could do that. And if you're more on that side of it, then keep going for it and really do it and go all in. So I think it was kind of unanimous. If you're on the fence, at least apply to give yourself the opportunity and then look into it further. And then if you do decide that it's not for you, it's okay. And you can withdraw from the process. Because the idea of helping someone and being a dispatcher and delivering a baby over the phone, saving someone's life, being that radio dispatcher, wearing the uniform, being part of the fire department. It's a nice idea, right? And it sounds like a wonderful thing. But then once you get in the seat and maybe you're hearing different things, then maybe you decide, you know what, I don't know if this is for me. This is a lot. Or you realize this is amazing. I want to keep doing this and I want to be the best I can while I'm sitting here in this position. So apply if you're on the fence.
Well, that is all wonderful advice, and thank you guys very much. I do want to say thank you to all of our attendees for being a part of tonight's online event, and definitely a special thank you to our terrific panel who stuck with us for about an hour and a half to answer all the questions that were submitted. As a reminder, we will have an in-person Ask a Dispatcher event on Saturday, April 5th. The exact time and location will be announced probably within the next few days via the San Jose Fire Department's various social media channels. So a little plug there. If you don't follow us on social media, please make sure to follow us to get all of the updated information. To apply for the Public Safety Radio Dispatcher Trainee position, please visit sjfd911.org. That's sjfd911.org, and submit your application by April 11th. I hope everyone has a great rest of your week, and thank you again for joining us tonight.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.